Welcome to the Fish House Nation podcast. I'm Chris Larsen. He's Al Escobedo. We've been talking a lot of tips and trying to help you guys catch more fish, but I think one of the things about hunting and fishing that I like the most is just sitting around either a campfire or maybe just around the table or maybe even at a local establishment and just telling stories and talking about kind of favorite things. So I wanted to do that today, is just do kind of a, favorite fishing stories today and just kind of talk a little bit about some of your experiences, some of my experiences, and if you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening on the podcast, go over to the YouTube channel and drop in your favorite fishing story. I'd love to hear it. Let's start with one of yours. What do you got? What's kind of a favorite ice fishing memory?
The one that always pops into my head is a late ice fishing trip me and my cousin made. Mario, you know Mario.
One of my stories includes Mario as well.
He's my tournament partner for a lot of years. We've fished together. He's my cousin. We've spent a lot of time together, and that guy is always good for making some stories. But this one, it was a late ice crappie bite we were going after. Woke up really early, drove a couple hours up north, unload the four-wheelers, go out on the ice. We're having a great time putting crappies in the bucket, getting ready to head out, and we're sitting there fishing, and we notice a truck pulls into the launch. 4 or 5 people get out, walk to the lake, turn around, and they leave. And this happens, 10 times. A bunch of trucks come and go, and no one else comes out on the lake. And we're out there, we're like, what's going on? We better go check this out. So then we drive back over there, and sure enough, lakeshore is gone pretty much all the way around. We got a four-wheeler, we got a sled, we got everything out there. And we're just trying to figure out what we're gonna do. So we put all our electronics, everything in the sled, and we just floated it across. And I told Mario, I said, I don't know what you're gonna do, and I hope I can make it, but I'm just gonna send it. So I freaking take off, and I made it through. I didn't even get wet at all. And now I'm sitting there at the launch facing the sheet of ice.
Yeah.
About, I don't know, it opened up pretty dang big. So, and we're sitting there, and now Mario's out there, and he's got to figure out what he's going to do. So he jumps in and make him swim across, and he ended up having to ride home in his skivvies. And it was just, it's always got to be an adventure when me and him get into something. Yeah. There's endless stories of stuff like that have happened to us over the years.
Yeah. I remember it's probably one of the first times that I ever ice fished with you guys, but I remember driving four-wheelers out on this lake, and we're cruising out on the lake, and all of a sudden, I don't think that Mario rode with us, but I feel like we're going across the lake, and I look over my shoulder, and here comes Mario on his four-wheeler with this dog, like basically in his lap, and we're just flying across the lake, and the dog's just sitting there like, this is awesome. But I just remember looking over my shoulder and just seeing, and Mario's he's not a small human, he's a big dude, and then here's this big lab.
It's not a small lab either.
just burning across the lake, and it was just kind of one of those things where like you look back and you're like, it's just something that you see in your mind, and it was just kind of memorable and fun too. And Mario's one of those guys that when you fish with, like, you're gonna have a good time.
Definitely.
So, yeah. The other one that I can think of, and you and Mario do a lot of ice fishing tournaments. I've done make one, I think, actually, but I did the Minnesota Panfish Championship. I think it was maybe probably right before the pandemic. It's been a while, but my friend Jason came up, and I remember going out and we were doing some pre-fishing and trying to find fish, and we didn't know anything about tournament fishing. We were just something that you were doing, and we're like, well, let's give it a shot, and I remember going out and trying to learn the thing and going out and fishing different spots, but the morning, and it's something that if you've ever gone tournament fishing, like, I don't know, you take off at 7? but you got to line up at like 4:30. And I just remember being lined up there, and you're just sitting there in the dark, and Dave Genz is walking around and just kind of talking to everybody, and he comes over and he talks to us and walks away, and my buddy's like, "Who is that guy?" And I'm like, "Well, that's Dave Genz." He's like, "No, it's not." And it was kind of funny because he was like, he just didn't believe it. He's just like, in his mind, this guy was like, you know, Vince Lombardi of ice fishing, and like, why would he just be walking around talking to people? So it was funny because later that day, you know, he was at the weigh-in, and you know, he's got his name on his jersey and everything, and he just still couldn't even believe that the guy was just walking around talking to everybody. So that was kind of a fun story, and just being out that day and never doing it. I remember we popped a couple of pretty good crappies early, and we're just like, we're gonna win this thing. Like, this is gonna be awesome. Like, we're gonna do really good first day. And I don't know, there was like 60 people in it. I think we got like 52nd or something like that. But it was a good humbling experience, and a good opportunity to go out there and kind of just see what it was all about.
It's a really cool experience in those lines and getting ready for takeoffs in the morning tournaments. There's a lot of anticipation and excitement. So, I mean, if you get the chance to experience it, I think it's fun to try the tournaments. I mean, take it as seriously or take it as not serious as you want, but it is a really fun thing to experience.
You talk about the takeoff. I remember, you know, it was on Chisago, and everyone in the line is, you know, facing west. And, you know, and they basically go, you know, everybody goes, and people are just burning west as fast as they can to get to their spot and get there before the other guy does. And as everybody is flying west, we go and just U-turn and go completely the other way. And we turn around going, there's gonna be some other people that do that too. Not a soul. Every single person went the other way. So that was a little disheartening too when our plan was completely different from everyone else's. So probably why we got 52nd place.
Yeah, that's either an indication that you found something really, really good that everyone missed, or you're a little off the X.
Yeah. So what else you got?
Well, I wouldn't be doing my dad justice if I didn't tell him his favorite story, which makes it one of my favorite stories. I was about 7, 8 years old, and we were going up to my uncle's cabin to ice fish. It's a little lake about 2 hours north of the cities, and we go out there. It's a hot perch bite. The family's been out there. Everyone's catching all these perch, and we're finally going to make the trip. We drive up there 2 hours. We get up there, and it's a warm day, so all the snow on the ice has melted, so there's just water everywhere. And I was a pretty rambunctious kid, and my dad opened the pickup truck door and said, "Whatever you do, don't get wet." And I literally, full speed, I remember sprinting full speed, and I dove onto the sheet of ice like this. He wasn't really impressed with it. I thought it was pretty cool. Needless to say, he wasn't happy about the 2-hour drive. He ended up turning on the truck, the heater, getting me down to my underwear, and I just watched them fish for about an hour before he finally would take me home.
Sounds like maybe your son's a chip off the old block.
Yeah.
That sounds like something he would do.
Yep. He's been pretty good on the ice. He hasn't gotten that rambunctious yet, but yeah, that sounds like something my boy would do for sure.
It's funny that, and I kind of just wrote a couple things down I wanted to talk about, but you reminded me with your dad. And I remember the first time ever ice fishing with your dad. And I had known you for a couple years, but I don't think I probably, you know, met your dad, but I don't think we really spent a lot of time together. But we're out on the ice, and you were out moving around, and I was just hanging out with your dad, and we were fishing, and he kept talking about this person named Alex. And he's like, yeah, Alex does this, and, you know, Alex does that. And I'm like, trying to figure out who this Alex person is. And finally I came up to you, and I'm like, he keeps telling me about who is Alex? You're like, well, that's me. So if you ever go around, no one in the world calls him Alex except for your dad.
Yep.
But it was kind of funny because he's literally telling me all these stories and I have no idea who he's talking about. Figure out it was you. But just one of my favorite kind of trips, and I don't know if it's a funny story or anything like that, but went up on Lake of the Woods, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago. It was me and Trevor from Catch Cover. We drove up there and went fishing with Matt Peters and his friend Tony. And Tony's a guy that I run into. He's a sales rep, so I run into him all the time at distributor shows too. But just had never spent any real time with him other than just saying hi to him at the shows, and just had an absolutely awesome time up there. Matt runs a couple custom fish houses up there. We were fishing on a skid house that weekend, and it was early in the year, so they were kind of set up on the river, and we were catching walleyes, we were catching burbot. I mean, it was just a crazy adventure. And Matt had kind of like a bunkhouse setup, and he had another building where he had literally like a commercial fryer like you'd have in a restaurant, and just made the most awesome fish fry I've ever seen. One of the things that he does that I'd never seen before either is he takes his walleye fillets, chunks them up, and then he soaks them in beer for 24 hours and then pulls them right out of that beer, kind of pats them down, and then throws them into a paper grocery bag with his dry breading mix in there and shakes them up. And I'm like, what's up with the paper grocery? Because I've seen people put it in bag, like Ziplocs. And he's like, well, this paper kind of absorbs the liquid, so you don't get that big pasty mess you get when you do it in a Ziploc. I've never seen anybody do that before. So he pulls it out of the paper grocery bag, and then he's just got like a strainer, and he just kind of throws it against that strainer, knocks all the loose stuff up so it doesn't end up in your oil, drops it in the oil, and man, the guy can do a ton of fillets that way. We were going to have something else I've never had, still to this day I've never had. We were going to make walleye egg rolls too. Apparently you need American cheese to make these, and I'm an American cheese guy. I mean, that's why I have this. So that sounded really amazing, but we forgot the American cheese, so we didn't get our walleye egg rolls that weekend. But the other thing that I experienced that weekend too is I just didn't grow up in an area with snowmobiles, so I'd never ridden a snowmobile either. So Matt's like, you've never been on a snowmobile? You're going to be on one this weekend. So did a ton of snowmobiling out of Lake of Woods, which was really, really fun as well, and a good time. So just good people going out and experiencing some new things, seeing some new things, learning some new stuff, and Lake of the Woods is really cool too.
That's awesome.
Nice walleyes and burbot, and just a good time.
Yeah, anytime you can spend time on the ice with good people, you're going to come away with some good memories and good stories, whether you're catching fish or not. Yeah. But I know Matt, and I know if you're spending the weekend with him, you're probably catching something.
Yeah, we're gonna catch some fish. So it was a good time. What else you got?
It's so many different stories. I guess another one I'll tell is probably the first time me and my cousin went out to one of my favorite lakes, which is Big Stone. It's not a fun, exciting story. It was just a lake that we had read and heard about, and we started going out there. We went and made friends with the guys at Artie's Bait, and went out there and just started learning the lake. And for the first time out there, we really didn't have a clue what to expect or what we were going to do. It's a type of body of water that we're not used to fishing a lot, so it was a big learning curve. But then, we got out there, we rented a hotel room for the weekend, just, brought out a bunch of snacks to keep it as cheap and basic as possible. We brought the grill, and it was just like you said, a good day going out on the water, breaking down a new body of water a few hours away from home, and we ended up having a pretty good weekend, catching quite a few nice perch, some nice crappies, and some nice bluegills, and it really cemented that place a special spot in my heart. I love going out to Big Stone. I'll be spending some trips out there this winter, and I can't wait to make more memories out there.
Yeah. All right, last one. I was on a video shoot, photo shoot. This was probably 3 or 4 years ago on Winnibigoshish. And very well-known guide gave us a call and said, the perch are here and they are going, and there is no one else on the lake. It was like March. I remember because I think the next day I flew to Florida for spring break. So it was like, it was getting to be the end of the season. And we get out there and we're like leaving from someone's backyard because the launches were all just nasty. And he had lined up some access. So it was probably, I don't know, 15 or 20 of us. So we got a lot of machines and we're popping off someone's backyard out on the lake and bombing across the lake. I mean, I feel like we were on the four-wheelers for 4 or 5 miles probably going across the lake, and it's March. So there's just all these old pressure ridges and everything. And there's just stupid stuff everywhere they hit. And one of our good friends, Mr. John Marshall, he's got a sled behind his four-wheeler, and it's just full of electronics. We're going to go out and shoot. This is an electronics shoot. And we're hitting these pressure ridges, and every time we hit them, stuff is flying out of them. I mean, just bam! And I feel like we're stopping every 5 minutes to pick gear up off the ice. And it's like, you gotta slow down, man. And we get there and like everything worked great, but I always tease them, if somebody comes up to us and they're like, yeah, my thing doesn't work. It's like, Marshall, he probably drives like you on the ice, probably scattering his gear all over the place. But you see those things on Ice Fishing Minnesota too. It's always like, I can't find my sonar if anybody saw it on the lake. And you're like, I know what that guy's sled looks like. Like, he definitely dropped it off hitting a bump on the ice. But we actually just absolutely pounded the perch that day too. And it was literally, there was no one else. Like, you saw nobody else on the lake, and that's a big lake. And to never see anyone else out there when the bite is going like that, it was insane. And we had a great photographer out there with us that day, and it was just so cool because you could shoot these pictures. And most of the time when you're on a lake like Mille Lacs or you're on a lake like Winnibigoshish, it's just hard to get a clean background because there's just people everywhere and houses and everything else. But like, it looked like we were in the middle of nowhere. And Winnibigoshish is sort of in the middle of nowhere, but usually when you're out there, there's lots of other friends out there with you too. And just to be on a lake like that with no one else and just the bite being absolutely insane was a really, really cool experience, and something that I don't think most people will ever get to experience. So
yeah, that's a pretty rare thing there, and pretty awesome that you got to experience that. Yeah,
and speaking of shoots too, I guess one more, because I like to talk about this stuff, but another video photo shoot on Mille Lacs, and it was the time of year where there was a ton of other people out there, but it was thick fog, and everything looked like you just couldn't see anything. And the photographer to this day calls it my Hoth shoot. It reminded him of being on Hoth in Star Wars because everything was fog. It made for some spectacular photos because everything, it was just like on a white background. You couldn't see more than 50 feet probably, anything. Like, it was zero visibility past that. And it made for really spectacular stuff because it just looked like you were shooting everything in a studio, but we were on a lake.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Really cool.
When you were talking about the four-wheelers, I want to bring up one more story. This is again a Mario story.
Yeah.
But when you were talking about cruising across the lake, it popped into my mind. It's a story that makes me laugh every time. We were fishing a tournament on the north arm of Minnetonka, and one of our four-wheelers broke down, so we had to borrow a four-wheeler from a friend. So Mario was riding the four-wheeler from one of our buddies, and so the tournaments we fish is a shotgun start. So like the tournament that Chris has fished in the past, they start in a line and then you break off the line as you go, where this one, you line up side by side and you just go, kind of like the bass boats do in the bass tournaments and stuff like that. And so we take off and we're going, and we had pre-fished the lake, 10 times before the tournament here. So we've been out there and we know where there's these houses are and where the houses are and these big mounds from where they were buried in or whatever. And I got the GPS on my four-wheeler. He doesn't got it on his because he's borrowing one. And we're flying across the lake full speed, and he's behind me. We're going, and then all of a sudden he gets the great idea. He's gonna get alongside of me or past me. So he goes up and coming alongside of me, and I'm warning him because there's a big berm up in front of us that I'm gonna go around the side. And I'm over here. I'm on my four-wheeler, and I'm like. And
tell me he gave you the middle finger.
He didn't give me the middle finger. It almost would have been better, but I'm doing that, and he literally just goes, wham! He hits the snowbank and flies over the front of the four-wheeler. A 370-pound guy flying through the air. Oh, he didn't get hurt at all. That's what makes the story so funny. But it was just, I just picture him looking over, the big dumb smile on his face as I'm telling him to stop and turn, and it just, oh man,
just cooked it. Well, I'm glad he survived that. That actually, when you said that, I'm like, that probably
it could have been really bad, but he just rolled over. There's a wood box on the front of the four-wheeler that you put all your gear and stuff, and he just rolled over the front of it, and it was the funniest thing. Oh God, just the
big smile, and away we go. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed us telling some stories today, and just thanks for indulging us in this episode. But I was thinking of topic ideas, and I'm like, God, I feel like this is something that people do, and if someone were to come and hang out in our fish house with us and fish, like, this is what we would do.
Yep,
so
exactly.
I thought it'd be kind of a good idea for a show, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you drop in the comments. Tell me about one of your stories, or tell me one of your favorite places or favorite days of ice fishing. For Al, I'm Chris. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.